Biscuits and tea.
34.99.
99.
Boom. Guys,
Boom,
it's a little quiet, this boom. Look at it, because we're putting in the respect. DK, what's up, man?
I'm just trying to catch up to you guys. I'm good.
Okay. Well, this is obviously a very interesting episode of Biscuits and Tea. You are the first guest on the Biscuits and Tea side, which is amazing. We talked in, I think, was that our second or third episode there, where we were trying to figure out who we could get, and Tyler obviously put us together. So I'll leave it up to you, Tyler, to just do a little bit of a intro, and then DK, you can obviously intro yourself, who you are, what's up, based on what Tyler says, how you guys, came to know each other.
So I just met DK playing with Fredericksburg FC, which it was in between college seasons in the summer, where pretty much in the U.S. you just play for whatever summer league team you can find that's like around wherever you're living. And I was living in Fredericksburg at the time, finishing up classes. So I played there, and we had this coach, Grover Gibson. I think I've talked about him a little bit with you, Will. So he used to play.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he was in the Bundesliga, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like middle of Virginia.
Brilliant.
You just find there's just this club where the coach used to play in the Bundesliga. I have never seen a coach have like everybody on one of those leagues or teams, the summer teams, buy into like this culture just so quickly. Like, because we had a bunch of kids from like UVA, VCU, Mary Washington, a bunch of different colleges, and like everybody, if you didn't come to training on time, like one day, like gone. If you didn't have excuse,
gone.
Like,
so he had that strict German like culture.
Gone. Like, you are gone if you're. He's like, do not ask me why you're not playing. This is a professional environment. Like,
that's great though, right?
He's like, you don't win a spot. Someone loses their spot. If someone's playing, like, he just knows. He's like a very like that was probably my first real experience with like a professional environment, like how the training is actually set up. So DK was playing on the team as well there, which is where we met. And I swore everyone on the team thought you were a Navy SEAL, but apparently that was not completely true. Or is this, when you said what your title was, I have no idea what any of that meant.
So I'm a naval officer. I'm a commander in the Navy, and so I work with information and intelligence, and so worked all over.
This is awesome.
All
this
over.
Is awesome.
That. It's funny that you mentioned, Grover and I, we grew up together. We're not together. We spent some time in the youth soccer scene. He's a 78 and I'm a 77. So through the national team programs, that's how we knew each other. And then by happenstance, I found myself back in Fredericksburg at War College. Grover was starting up the NPSL team. So, I decided to lace him up, but at least tried to run around a little bit. Tyler's being generous that the guy tolerated my presence, but it was a fun opportunity to be part of a group that was motivated and to watch these guys get after it, and they did pretty well. I think. Yeah.
Sorry, no, I was just going to ask what position you were.
When with the NPSL group, or in general?
Like, well, just in general. What do you consider yourself? Right. You're not a goalie, are you?
No, not a goalie.
Oh, good. Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah.
No, I mean, so. I was a forward and outside midfielder, and then in college, the standard transition from an outside midfielder to a marking back. Both, I think my physical tools are probably my best asset, and although I had a little something on the ball, but I think, to be honest, that's what I brought.
And then you were at Wake Forest, right?
Yes, yeah. So I did the youth, but I guess now it's like 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. So. So the ODP program was our pathline at that time, and then went to scholarship at Wake, and then had untimed injury. Not that any injury comes at a good time.
Yeah.
And then made some decisions about what I wanted to do. So yeah. So I'll save you. I guess we might get to the details, but we'll see. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Was Wake also like a powerhouse back then when you were playing there?
No. So back in the day, you used to be able to have 5 paid visits, right? So I visited Duke, Maryland, Notre Dame, Brown. And actually, it was funny. I was at the Wake Maryland soccer game. This is a great story. Jay Vidovich got a red card, and his assistant took ownership of, so not that you can transition a red card, but the assistant coach, John Hackworth, at that time, took the red
I know
card.
John Hackworth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so John went up into the stands and sat with the Maryland recruits, which I was one. And then John's like, "You got to come down and visit us." And so, the last visit I had was was a great opportunity. Walt Chisowitz had just died, so Jay was in his first year at Wake, and so I was his first recruiting class, and then and so that's what we did. We had a nice group, and it took 3 rebuilding years, and then our 4th year was we lost 1 regular season game. We had so it was a good experience, a painful experience in a lot of ways, but also a great one.
So you kind of were in a phase there at that school where you kind of helped it become more successful powerhouse school. You were kind of one of those first classes that came and had some success.
Well, that was really Jay's pitch. Jay and John were real motivated young coaches who had a vision on how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear that from my perspective, a lot of the other programs were ones that would enable you to showcase what you had, but this was an opportunity to be part of something.
That's cool.
And so,
I was just going to ask. So obviously now, can we get an understanding? Could you go ahead and say what you are again, and what you did, or are you still currently?
So I'm still a commander in the Navy.
You're a commander in the Navy,
right? So, and I'm of course, my apologies.
No problem. This is not
This is not CNN.
High quality show. This is we're not CNN or Fox News yet.
So I'm a intelligence officer in the Navy. I guess it's on my LinkedIn account, so it's not a surprise.
What does that mean? That's my question.
Right. So it means a lot of in the Navy. It means a lot of things. The Navy, the Navy's mission spans from submarine warfare, strike warfare. You think of Top Gun bombing, strike missions, to expeditionary, which is special forces. We work in, and that's primarily my 20 years in the Navy. Primarily focused on supporting special operations activities, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Philippines, and the like. And so that's sort of my experience. I think I've got nine deployments. 9 deployments in my 14 years, and then the last 6 years, as I became more senior, I've moved into programmatics and more leadership environments and less tactical situations.
Wow. So Jesus, over 14 years and 9 deployments a lot, or is that just me? That sounds like a lot.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, so I joined the Navy just right a year before September 11th. So it's been 20 years in service, but I guess my operational experience out the door sort of slowed down in the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years. It was a huge shift. I know. My wife, who's you asked, my social presence. I've got a lot. I'm pretty active with my kids, and and that's really been a blessing since my operational tempo has slowed down. I've been able to really reconnect with them in a meaningful way. So it was crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I don't have any true understanding of what, when you hear, because part of the issue growing up in the US, I remember when I was a kid, and this is an interesting question, one you could probably shed some light on. Like, I remember probably being 13 or 14. I don't remember what movie this was, but when I realized that even within our own country, there are organizations, or that's probably not the term, but the FBI, the CIA, the Navy, the Army, all of them, they have to find ways to cooperate and to collaborate. And there's not always sometimes where it works out in the best way. And there's like a certain, so I met him quite a while ago, and we've become fairly good friends. A Marine, who's an ex-Marine now, who's in the private sector. Right. And he even worked for Blackwater, I believe. Is that the yeah? So they're a fairly, I don't know if I want to say controversial, but they're out there, Right. And I was asking him about like his training and what they did and like all that stuff and how was it? And he didn't play any sports at all. He's clearly a super fit guy. He's he's 37 now, and he's still doing the job, and he's been doing it for 12 years, and he's in Israel and in Afghanistan. He's all over the place. Like, what was that like compared to, like, being a soccer player? Like, could I just like go run for like 20 minutes? Like, am I fit? Am I ready to join the Navy? Would I pass the test? Can I get deployed now? They're like, all right, just here you go. It's cool.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. So, yes, the answer question is yes, right? And it's all about mindset. And so, if you can set yourself your mentality to be successful in athletics, you can apply that same mindset. And that was, for me, the transition was shortly after college, and the injury forced some decisions. Then I joined the Navy because I traveled abroad, and my father's from Uganda, so I spent some time traveling with the family. And between my junior and senior year, I spent about 4.5 months in Japan. The first 2.5 playing with a J League team, training with a J League team, Omi Ardeja, and then the latter part of that, a work study program in Nagoya. So I knew I had this bug to live abroad and have that experience. But to your question, the transition, when I found myself at OCS, Officer Candidate School, basically beginning my path to becoming a naval officer, it was harder than I expected. And not because necessarily the physical challenges were difficult, but you had to ask yourself, why am I here? Is this what I really want? And if you haven't fixed those things in your mind, then those seemingly small challenges can build up and then ultimately lead to maybe someone deciding that's not for them.
Yeah.
It was good. I had nowhere else. I decided I had nowhere else to go. So
Do you think that's almost like a hereditary thing where like some people are just like able to, like they already have like that mental like building blocks that they need for that? Because I just remember one time we were doing a drill with Fredericksburg FC, and it was just the one where you just sit and you're just sitting on the ground, and then Grover would be like, go. I remember when DK was sitting down waiting for this, it looked like you were just like staring, like
game face.
I can't even explain the eye. Like his eyes, like his literally like you could see like everything just focused like into this laser point, just going off into the woods. Like he wasn't even physically there anymore. And then you just like it was, everybody knows this too. They're like, oh my god, like what is DK on right now?
He's ready.
Well, it's I guess that the nature nurture question, right? But for example, in that setting, basically as a player coach or just a motivator, my role was, my most valuable contribution to the team was the mindset during training, right? So, where everyone else is maybe focusing on the game, and that's when they're going to really show their wares. This was my opportunity to help set the tempo and show what the effort level had to be, or the level of focus. Yeah. So I think that in a different context, if someone recognizes, hey, listen, I want to become this certain certification, they approach that training evolution with the focused mindset of, this task here, I own this in its entirety. Mm-hmm. I think, so to your point, I think, Nate, in a certain environment, someone may develop that by just out of necessity and survival. I also think being in, I've had good role models and people who have shown me maybe how to behave, or how maybe I was behaving wasn't appropriate. Yeah. And so I've definitely benefited, from that entirely.
Yes, I try to do that with Tyler all the time.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Show him how he's behaving. Show him that this is not the goal or Amy way. No, sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say you said you had some pretty good like mentors and role models. Obviously, I've known Will since I was like 8 years old, and his dad coached me, and I looked up to them, the good people to look up to playing soccer. Like, who were some of the people early on that kind of led to who you are today?
Right. So, I think work ethic, my father is a great example. He came to the States from Uganda through a academic selection process, went to Amherst, and then finished his MD, PhD in San Diego. And so he led his life through hard work and demonstrated that. I come from a big family. One of my older brothers, Richard, grew up in England and was a schoolboy in Carlisle. Okay. And so when he came to the States, he's really introduced me to the game of soccer, and that was his vehicle to school. He went to Harvard, and they went to the Final Four during that experience. So I got to see that as a young kid and sort of shoot. He was my most my youngest memory of someone saying, "Here's what soccer can do for you if you if you're willing to work for it."
Wow.
It's crazy how you can see this kind of stuff be passed down like family lines too. Because just from your Facebook videos I see of your daughters and then your son, like their work ethic looks out of control for like how motivate. I'm also curious, like what are their goals playing wise?
Well, it's a huge question. I think now this is my personal perspective. American youth soccer is all sort of wonky, in which everyone is saying we want to make pro soccer players. I think that process will sort of reveal itself. We want to make problem solvers, motivated kids that can, identify challenges, delay gratification, and understand an appreciation for hard work. So, those are the kind of the things that we want for them. We also try to share that soccer can be a vehicle for experiences. My wife was a swimmer, and I would say her experience in athletics is a much more intense one at an earlier age than mine. But our expectations are aligned in that way. So we don't have specific objectives other than for them to be better people.
I think that's. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
And they're like all in on this. It's not like, oh, like we have to go train, and like, oh, do we really have to go train today? Like I know when I was a kid, if someone was always like, hey, we should like, come on, we're going to work on your feet. I'm like, yeah, like I have team training later. Like I'll just go do that. Like,
which is amazing, Tyler, because now you are literally at a point where you're running outside to a club, going to take a bunch of gear to bring it to your house so you can train all the time. So it's funny when the switch happened.
The switch, it was senior. You want to know when I can pinpoint it very easily. It happened actually over that summer when I was training with Frederick FC and DK, and I was going to go to Oregon State. It's because I saw all my friends just graduate and go to normal jobs. They went to like go on business, and I was just like, I don't want to do that. I want to see if like I can actually go pro and like make something out of it. So like I decided super late that I wanted to try to go pro, and I got extremely lucky that it worked out.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it luck. Like, like me, I knew when I think I was 15. So I can also remember the moment when I knew there were at least a couple, but I had some natural talent, but clearly a lot of the hard work came in. And just I wanted to add to the point that you were saying on what U.S. soccer should try and create, and all three of us here were involved in helping to elect the last U.S. soccer president, who's unfortunately had to resign due to a kerfuffle, a snafu with, let's just call it that, but the person who's now also in charge is a great woman and also a friend of ours. But I think you're right. The whole U.S. soccer pro scheduled or pro system, from the youth up to the top will get a funnel and that'll sort itself out. But, and I think B will probably confirm this as well. The coaching approach that my dad took with me and that he took with all the teams that he coached was also to create, you want to create good humans. You create humans that people know how to solve problems, that they're able to be good in the world, that they know how to work together as a team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just so happens that he's incredibly successful. He's produced tons of pros and national team players and et cetera, et cetera. So that's the right approach overall. Yeah. And it's the same with me because most parents would also ask me, like, did he like put you on the field and you just like there's a lock and chain, like a cage that I like went into and like I couldn't get out until I juggled the ball like 1,000 times. Like it wasn't like that at all. Like it was all self-motivated. He just got me to have fun with it. And then before he goes off to work and then, I'm home with my mom. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to juggle. I'm going to play soccer. That's what I did. So it was really easy. So I think that is probably the best way to go about it overall, Yeah,
I think like when DK said, like when he went to the Final Four and like his brother like gave him that moment, he was like, "This is what it can give you." That's kind of what EJ and Will gave me early on was, hey, look at what these guys are doing. Look at the success they're having. They're going to school. They're getting jobs. They're doing great things just through this game. And really, what they gave me growing up was the idea that I can create, the freedom to create. They gave me the tools, but then they put me in positions where, hey, you're the guy who has to make the decisions. And when you're young and you have that, when you understand that you can have that kind of impact on people, that's a really powerful thing. So
Yeah.
And,
go ahead.
no, I mean, that's we all are probably in agreement. Soccer is amazing, right? Because there's no archetype.
Yeah.
And as you guys are all examples, or you can think of any guys who are ultimately successful, is that mindset and determination.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Totally.
yeah, it's amazing. It's empowering as well.
I would just like to get Tyler to go ahead and put the definition of archetype out there. Tyler, what's an archetype?
I'm going to assume it derives from architecture.
No, I don't. I actually don't know the etymology.
I did not do well in my vocab for the SATs. No. That was not why I got into Mary Washington.
So an archetype would be like, if this is the general description of the perfect person in this endeavor. So the most ideal soccer player is X.
Mm-hmm.
Well, an example of excellence is Messi, but he's very different and distinct from Ronaldo or Desai or any,
Desai, you are throwing it back. I don't know if either of these guys know who Desai is, but that is a great reference right there.
So
that's funny.
We to your point, Will, on my Facebook, I use the term football life, right? Because I do think like soccer is, when enjoyed, is about community and everything. When in the military, wherever I was, if I was engaging with foreigners, which most often was the case, soccer was a common touchstone. So it is amazing. Like, it's opportunities. It's like it breaks down cultural barriers, because if you can knock it, then people people see you in a different light. So it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's something I think the U.S. really actually is missing out on, is like not being connected to the rest of the world on that same kind of level of like their love for soccer.
Right.
Like, just, I think if you have like anybody, especially in Europe, if you just have two random people from different countries and they're just sitting together and like they have to like create some sort of bond, like I would assume 99% of the time it's going to be over something soccer related.
Right.
Or language.
Then,
yeah.
Or language. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But like in the US, like all of our sports are like there's not like that world level. It's like just kind of baseball is all here. Basketball does have definitely broad appeal, but
I've already figured out why we didn't make the World Cup. It's because we're taking all of our top talent like DK and we're funneling it into the Navy SEALs. And now
that's exactly what's happening. He's got laser focus on the field. Tyler's never seen anyone ready to play, and we've got to put him in the Navy. I mean, I guess it does make some sense, but I mean, maybe you could shed some light on everything that's going on. I mean, since you've been in service, you said for 20 years or roughly, right?
Yeah.
What have you seen change? What is, like, since the time that you went in to now, what is the Navy's? I feel like I don't know the Navy well. I feel like I see articles and commercials for the Army. Right. Is that because we maybe need people to enlist? But the Navy kind of slides under the radar, even in pop culture, like movies. It's the CIA. You do the FBI guy, who plays that role in every movie. There's the cop. They got that, but like, who's the Navy guy? I don't.
That's why they're re-releasing or the new updated Top Gun. So get the Navy back on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I don't know. How's it changed?
No, I mean, so I did. I joined the Navy before September 11th. I think was, I guess, October 2000. So I didn't foresee any of these events. And I concluded my training just during the September 11th, and so my first assignment was out to a carrier. So, Will, to your point, the focus of effort has been these ground conflicts, and so the Navy, all the services provide personnel to do those, right? So, even though in the Navy I started off on a big carrier, I spent all my time on the ground, and then now, as those efforts have been lessened, there's a huge increase in focus in the Pacific, and undersea warfare, and basically like what it's called great power competition between Russia and China.
Sorry, but when you say a carrier, do you mean like a carrier, like out to sea?
Yeah. So the Navy does everything, right? Yeah.
Oh, right. So you were living on a carrier for like an extended period of time. Land, no. Is that what you mean?
18 months, two deployments. So my first 24 months.
Holy crap.
So
and you don't come back?
In between? You'll have a
move around.
So for the first one was 10 months. And so during that 10 months, the carrier is out doing operations and it would pull in the port. We were busy in Afghanistan, and then we came back and my squad, I was with part of a fighter squadron as their intel officer, and so we went on to another deployment on the same carrier shortly, about 6 months after, for another 8 months. And that was tough, but it was rewarding.
What is
So
that
how-
like? Sorry, Todd, just this last thing to close off that. Like, what is that actually like? These moments where you know that you're deploying, you know that you're actually going to see some sort of action, battle, things like that. What is? Could you like? What is? I have no understanding of that as a civilian. I don't know what this is like from what we see in movies, from all the stuff you want to hear, and I'm able to talk to, like I just said, my friend who's an ex-Marine, and he's able to give me a visual. I asked him questions about like, what's it like? What are the sniper guys like? And he described like this character that are like, and they're not like the rest of us. He said they're weird, but like, I don't know. What is that? If you can give us the most glimpse that you could.
Sure. I mean, I think there are two different ones. So I think when you're on a carrier, at least in those times, there wasn't really a threat to the carrier itself. Mm-hmm. So the challenge is you have operations that are going almost 24/7. You're in a very tight space for an extended period of time. There's a lot of work to be done, but there's not necessarily a sense of danger to your life or limb. That may change based in the future, but at least my experience was that when you're on the ground, when you get your first convoy brief about threats and reactions to fire, it brings things home. Mm-hmm. And then, and your primary focus is basically to make sure that you're not the limiting factor in that group. You don't want to be the reason the mission fails, or that you guys don't respond appropriately to whatever you may encounter. So two different experiences. They each have their separate stresses. I would say the carrier one is much harder on the family piece. But for the member, oftentimes once you adjust to your new environment, you're so wrapped up in your work that sometimes you don't notice it as much as your family might.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Tyler, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
So I'm having like a really hard time visualizing when you say you're on the ground. Like how many? Like did you have like a squadron, or like how many people were? Like I'm confused with what you guys were actually doing or how you were set up, or.
Right. So, I guess an example would be in 2006, 2007, I was in Ramadi, Iraq. It was very, tumultuous time in that conflict, and I spent that time with SEAL Team 5. So, I was part of a task unit. In my activities there, I would engage with the local police to identify bad actors, and then I would help plan or help provide information to address those threats. So, as in my capacity, oftentimes I'm added to a unit or a group of which individuals I'm responsible for and myself are added to a unit and help them execute whatever activities they may be doing in different areas. And so it's a traveling road show. So you find out the unit, you go and you join them wherever that may be, and you try to be.
So you guys are you're like the goalkeepers.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like you try to align yourself with the SEALs.
Oh yeah, they're like goalkeepers. Okay.
It's not.
They're all very similar, and they got to bring in the guy who just knows.
Oh my gosh.
Has all that different little.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's incredibly fascinating. Actually, obviously, it's nothing compared to anything that we're doing. So I can imagine the type of concentration and things that you have to deal with. But I guess I don't know if we necessarily got an answer to the question of how it was then to now. Like, do you have a take on all of this? Is Iraq in 20 years going to be like New York City, or? Like, is it better off now? Are we, what's happening, from somebody who was there?
I don't have an official position on U.S. foreign policy. No, I think a good amount of effort was expended, and I hope for an ideal outcome in all those environments. You mentioned that it's not like anything that you guys have experienced, but I would argue that it's maybe the military aspect, but is different, but the qualities are very consistent with what you guys have shown in your careers and what soccer players need in general. Why was I drawn to the military? I liked working in teams. I liked working with on sort of varying problems, not the same problem. And I an idea of working towards something greater than myself. And that is exactly what you get on any soccer team, right? You've got to interact with people on a dynamic problem, and you all are pursuing this larger goal. And so that's really, the Navy wasn't a departure from my life. It was just a continuation of the things I enjoyed and I felt maybe I was good at in a different environment. So I would, to your point, Will, the military is hiring. So if you ever get, if you ever,
I don't know what I would be. The reason I asked about that'll bring me to a question that I had earlier on. Like, what about cognitive tests and things like that? So people will always come up to me. I speak a few languages, and so they'll always constantly, and even my friend Aaron, who I spoke about earlier, would say, "Hey, man, like he's thinking about applying, as I guess is it applying for the CIA? Is that the correct term for that? Possibly,
Sure.
or something, one of those things." And he's saying, like people with that speak languages they're always in high demand. Like
Right.
it's something you can do, and it's just like part of the thing. I think it's cool. Like all of the things that are there, and the opportunities that it involves, the concentration and focus that it's required, the orderliness of all of that. I find really, really interesting. What turns me away from a lot of it is you don't get to choose. Is that correct? I don't get to go, hey guys, I want to be this. I want to be a fighter pilot and a sniper, and I want to be also. I want to learn how to bake cakes, and I want to learn how to save people all at the same time. I want to learn all that stuff. So you guys could find a way to sort that out for me. That doesn't happen, right?
Well, it depends. So my thought process, I knew nothing about the military when I joined, and the Navy allowed me to pick my career field from the word go. Each of the other services at that time said, "Hey, you come in, you sign the line, and we'll tell you if you can." And there was not that operational trust between me and the military at that time. So the Navy was a great fit for me. But if you pass the test, the Navy would take you in as a fighter pilot and the like. So there is some shaping to your role. In the Marine Corps, I think it's a little bit different, where you go through the process and then you're identified your specialty. But that's a little bit outside of my,
Mm-hmm.
It's everything is a negotiation. The military
Okay.
wants talent.
Yeah.
So if you're bringing, or government, and then within the service, certain units will have more refined testing and personality matching to make sure that you're a good fit for their mission.
Okay. I don't know if you can give an answer to this, but so if Will was going to be selected by one of these organizations, CIA, Navy, like where do you think he would fit? He can speak 8 languages fluently. He's extremely fit. He doesn't eat sugar. He's up every day, meditates. He's one of the most focused people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, where do you think he could be best utilized if USA needed him tomorrow?
I mean, those skills could be applied. I mean, you can't replicate ability to maneuver between different communities fluidly with language ability, right? That takes a lifetime, and even if they had all the training, they still couldn't get those capacities. So. Yeah, Will, you're a hot commodity with that.
Nobody would suspect you up in Russia speaking Russian as an American informant.
I know. Yeah, that does always throw the Eastern languages or Eastern European languages always throw people when they see black guys coming out.
Funniest
it
thing.
Never.
You should tell that
not
story.
Always hilarious.
You should tell that
Which
story
one?
about Zach Neese in Kansas.
Oh God! All right. Well, what happened is that Brandon, we were filming the 21-day challenge.
Yep.
Right? Is that during that time?
Mm-hmm.
So we were filming, this 21-day challenge. Just something cool for everybody to be able to train. And we were at the field, and it's not a public field, but it acts as a public field. It's essentially these massive parks that they're building now. There's like nearly 15, maybe 10, maybe more fields at this place. No one's using them. It's the middle of the day. Right. It's the summer, obviously, and we're off. And so we went out there to film, and we're filming. We had, I think, a tripod set up and something, and we see out of the corner of my eye while we were actually filming. It's like a movie. A little guy in a little golf cart comes. Zzz, you know how they move all weird and funny. A guy, and he had a little hat, and he's probably in his late 50s or early 60s, something like that, right? He's overweight. He's not looking the best, et cetera. And he just, instead of, kind of diffusing the situation, which would have been the best thing, to just say at least hello, right? B, maybe just,
Hey, how you guys doing?
Something. He like zoomed up in this golf cart and he basically like stopped it, but like he like hopped off at the same time.
Stopped
it was like
in front
a
of the
perfect
camera.
dismount.
He stopped. He pulled in front of the camera, stopped, and then walked towards the camera while he's on set.
And he goes, "You guys can't be here." You know, and you can't. And still, we were still very calm. We were very shocked, also too, because it was kind of like, what exactly are we doing that's so bad? And we went back and forth. It was actually really ridiculous. All the things that he was trying to say. That the governor, he's going to call the governor or somebody on him. We didn't know. He was just trying to up us. You know, we're like, we know everybody here. We're friends with all the people. It's not a big deal. Like, if we can't be here, do you mind if we just finish what we're doing and then we'll go? He kept escalating the situation to the point that we were getting frustrated, and so we kind of start making fun of him and kind of poking at him. I don't know what brought up languages, B.
I'm not.
Do you remember?
He said.
You said. I remember you said because he was acting like he didn't understand.
Do you understand me? Do I need to say another language? Oh, I can say it in Russian.
Yeah. And then we just kind of said fine. And then he said, and he's not that. This accent is not from Kansas. I don't know where the guy's from, but he did say it like Zatknis. He said Zatknis, which the word is Zatknis, which is the Russian word for shut up. And of course said it to him, and then started speaking to him in Russian, of which he knew and understood nothing. So he like a party trick. He learned one Russian word that he was going to throw out on the black guy in Kansas, which should normally work. Right? You know, but man. No,
one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That guy's face when Will just started speaking, he just rattled out like 4 or 5 sentences at him, and he was like, "What, black knees?"
What are the chances?
It was interesting. But no, I don't know where I would go. I honestly, because I do like to spend. I'm an only child, and I grew up. My parents are obviously incredibly involved in my life. Not having any brothers or sisters, I learned to have a love for spending time alone. And so that leads to meditation, that leads to self-study, that leads to self-improvement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's awesome.
You know, and so the reason I asked my friend about snipers is because they also have to spend a whole lot of time alone. And they've been known to enter into the flow state. They have to watch their breath, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a different type. But he told me those guys are really weird. I don't know. Do you guys have a version of goalies in the Navy? Because the goalies in soccer are clearly, they're not normal, like not even close, you know? So like, do you guys have do the armed forces have like, you guys are weird.
No, I mean, I'm for sure. And so, you know, I'm not a submariner, but anybody who would go inside a tin tube,
they're goalies,
right? It's a little bit different.
Tyler.
So, I mean, but it's anytime you get in those small communities, it's also sort of, you know, an elite status as well. So, to be weird is to be good.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways.
Okay.
To make you feel good.
Well, that's
Tyler.
cool.
To make you feel better. You're part of an elite community.
No, I would never. I'd be terrified going into something.
Yeah, it makes 2 of us. I'm not a huge fan.
How deep can those go?
Well, I guess that's probably classified, right? So,
exactly. I was just going to say that officially, or
no. It's So it's funny you talked about decisions. About 10 years ago, no, it was 2010. I started a mentorship program with Wake Forest, right? And so, and the idea then was, I had this operational period where I'd been detached from society in a lot of meaningful ways, and so I was going to take a pause, and I wanted to really not only plug back with my family, but also plug back with society. And I thought back when, you know, I during this period, I thought my transition from soccer player to the Navy was sort of a painful one, and one that I had not necessarily planned out for a whole bunch of different reasons. And so I thought that I learned a lot from that. And if I could get kids that were in college pursuing professional careers, just think for a moment about life outside that experience, that when that transition comes, whenever it comes, at the end of a 7-year career or in an unexpected manner, that they'd be more successful. And so I went with my classmates, you know, who I graduated with, because they'd all done different things from me, but had sort of the similar transition experience. And sort of we started really re-engaging, not only from our small group and the larger alumni group with Wake. And we did that it's ongoing. So it's been 9 years, and that's been a huge thing. And we've started it in a different fashion at Pitt with my previous coach is now the head coach. And so that's been in a lot of ways rewarding personally, but also to see how hopefully give these guys a chance to be successful as soccer players and in life in general. It's been awesome.
So the mentorship program, essentially, you're looking towards, did you say players and kids that are in college? Is that where you?
Yeah. So
how's that working?
So so it's basically we engage with, we had lofty goals, right? So initially we were going to have, do these development plans with all the players, and there's going to be this constant back and forth. And then we discovered that, college kids are busy with their life, and, talking to old graduate people that they're like, I'm so much different than you. I'll never have that experience, or whatever it is. But so the consistent piece is we engage in person during the year on multiple occasions. Mm-hmm. We have a sort of a social, closed social community where we post unwanted sort of observations of things, so the kids can sort of dip in and see, these are things. And sort of starting this communication. What we've discovered is that network is valuable to the guys after they've gotten out of college, because instead of trying to start a relationship then, they sort of have a network of people that with this common thing, and here's where I am. We have alumni who, think of Mikey Parkhurst. He's about as successful as you could have in MLS. Ike Opara, guys still in the league. You have got a lot of guys who are in the USL doing good things and also having other ventures, and then guys who are successful commercially. There's a particular company, Stryker, the medical systems, and they focus on athletes because they think that's a personality profile that does well for their business. And so I think we've got like 6 or 7 guys working in that career field. And so, we just want them to start thinking about those challenges, because in the moment, if you're thinking about it in crisis, you'll find a solution, but it may not be the ideal one. And really asking yourself, what motivates me? What gets me juiced? Why do I enjoy soccer?
Yeah, that's really cool. Most people would tend to ask me by the time I was probably, 25. They were like, so what are you going to do after? And by the time I was 23, I had already decided. So Tyler, you decided basically, what were you? You were 18 when you were seeing your friends go to college, or 19, right?
No, not college.
Oh, sorry.
When I saw my
when was that?
I was probably 21.
21. So you were 21, right? 21. And you realized like, oh boy, I don't want to do the desk job or whatever it is that they were doing. That's
Yeah. And 5 months later in Finland.
Yeah. So that's an amazing turnaround. Really, It truly is. His story is ridiculous. So we should get into that. But like, no, I was 23 when I realized that I can almost pinpoint I didn't play a whole lot at my Danish club. I mean, I actually played a whole lot. I scored a ton of goals in the reserve squad, but the coach wasn't a fan of me because I'm more technical and stylish and all this stuff. He brought in 2 Americans that he was forced to bring in, and they weren't really his call. It was a director's call. And the coach was English, and he was very direct. He recruited a guy. I've never played with a guy bigger. I think he was 6'5". If I tell you his name, this is why I wish we had our sound guy, he's huge. He's like 6'6". It'd be like LeBron on the field. All we'd have to do, like I would be dancing on the sideline trying to do my stuff, and the coach, just kick it to Mark. Like you just kick it up there towards him. Right. No one can. I saw the guy score some goals. I really don't understand. He just moved people out of the way, hands, shield them off, and put it away.
Would he just be like out jumping goalies while they're using their hands to like go?
Jumping. He couldn't jump very high at all. The ball would come up in the air, and instead of jumping, he would just use his frame to move around people. And it was it's terrible to watch for the defenders. You feel bad because as he's shielding you, you know what's going to happen. Like if you get played a ball and the goal's behind me, and if I just take you and move you physically and then turn around, you see the defenders going, I can't do anything. He can't do anything. And he would score goals like this. So it was really interesting. But at 23, I realized I was out after I'd at least played this game because I was playing soccer tennis on the field. It was a sunny day. And I realized that my job was to come outside, play with like just play some soccer tennis and joke around. And I was like, no, this is what I need to be doing all the time or something at least like this. So you mean I have to come out here for an hour, play in the sun, talk to my friends, and then you guys feed me, and then I don't have to do anything for the rest of the day, and you pay me for that? Okay. So it was then that I realized, and kind of to tie in what you spoke about just trying to do something more outside of the game. It was then that I realized I needed to kind of form something, and I wanted to start it before I was done playing, which is the evolution of a lot of what we do. Essentially, everything that we do here is, we're playing in, traveling Tyler in the Europa League and making videos in between doing that when we have our free time. But Tyler, your journey is ridiculous. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say what you guys are doing is really amazing. My new teleworking reality, getting organizations to coordinate when they're separate is hard enough, and what you guys do, time and space is huge. What was I going to say? It's interesting. To your point about playing, pursuing soccer as a career now. 20 years ago, the environment was different. So I take an injury my senior year in ACC semifinals. The leagues aren't such that they're going to take injured players and maybe I wasn't even the quality where someone would say, well, I'll wait, for you to get healthy, kind of thing. Right. So I'm in the A League kind of bumping around trying to get better. And that the environment at that time, on the contract is much different than what maybe you are now, where USL, you're playing in soccer specific stadiums. You've got great fan bases. It's exciting. Even when I was, I grew up in Connecticut and then did my high school in Buffalo, New York with my dad, changed hospitals. And when I was up there, by happenstance, I encountered this coach from Sheffield United. And he was like, well, we'd like to send you to England to do one of our schoolboy apprentice program. My parents at that point said, no, that's not, we're not going to do that. We brought his older brother to the States to go to school. We're not sending him, and one could say, oh, well, what would have been different? But, one could easily say that environment where they would have, that I would have done that and I wouldn't have developed any of the other skills that would have made college available to me. So I think it's amazing time now. I'm so envious of you guys' travels. There's a lot of weight guys, a couple of weight guys also in New Zealand and like living their best life, which is which is huge. It's awesome. Good stuff. You guys should be, I'm envious.
Yeah. No, it is fun. It's fun being able to do all the stuff, and it's crazy. Even though we had a really interesting trip in Manchester because it was chaotic. We got to go visit a bunch of other cities. It was fun. But yeah, no. Overall, it's a lot of fun to be able to do it. I don't know, Tyler. This is actually just to throw this in there because we're talking about college. I didn't finish college. Are they going to be like, well, you can't hold this rifle without that degree, sir? Is that an issue? Or are they going to be like,
it all depends. If you wanted to be an officer, then you would have to have your college degree. But if you wanted to be a sniper, which is the officers aren't snipers. If you wanted to do some specific tactical activity, then you wouldn't necessarily need. But the modern force, when you join the military, they're going to make you continue doing professional development. So,
I see. Yeah, wouldn't matter.
It all depends.
That's crazy.
So you bring a lot of other skills. The military is sort of strict in that way, but other agencies have your skills in the other avenues make you a much more attractive candidate.
I always thought Will was CIA. I always just thought he was CIA. I think he's still in the CIA.
They're hiring him.
I feel like he's always been, and I have never known it. And EJ, his dad's in the CIA as well.
It's a family thing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No. Here's a good question because
good. Go ahead.
You've traveled quite a bit. And obviously, Will's traveled a bit too. I don't know if we've ever had someone. How many countries, Will, have you been to?
Ooh. I don't know my official count. I can get a rough estimate is probably going to put me now somewhere in the 60s or 70s, I think.
Got me beat by a long way.
Okay.
Really?
That's tough to beat. No, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, military, the deployments, a lot or a decent amount of time in a few countries, and then as a youth soccer player, traveled a little bit, in Europe, but 60 countries is a lot of countries for anybody. Good stuff, Will.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's an interesting journey. I don't know, Tyler always ends up going back to the same European countries.
I haven't been anywhere. I've been in Europe for like, I don't know, like 20 months, and I swear, like, I've been to like 7 countries.
You're in Croatia now, though, right?
I'm in Croatia now.
Like, Croatia's like a destination for all the
I've been in Croatia for 7 months. I haven't seen the coast yet.
No! Oh my god!
I literally haven't been like. I've been to Slovenia. I saw Castle Blood, which was really cool, but I haven't gone south of Zagreb at all, and I've been here for like months.
You're missing out.
Right.
That's.
I was gonna go in May after our season. I was gonna go. Victoria was gonna come out. And we were gonna go
wow, that's right.
Now
you told me.
So I don't know if I'm even gonna see it this time out.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places on Earth. It's one of my it's in my top 5. You'll see. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. It's this little hidden place. It used to be more hidden because the first time I touched down in Croatia was 2010, and I was in Serbia. I played in Serbia in 2009, and it's just this place. When they joined the EU, so when I was first there was basically nobody. Like, there really weren't foreigners, and I could go weeks, if not months, without seeing another Black person or Asian person.
Right.
And then they joined the EU. And so 2 things happened. One, they joined the EU, and that just started this influx of tourism and things. And they already got a whole lot of tourists in the summer on the coast, but they were all Germans and Italians and people from England who knew they could go down there and get it. It's cheap and it's really nice. And so you could do that. And then, so now there used to be these Asian tours. So now if you go and you're staying out, it would be in the middle of the city. It's just probably like 100, 200. You're just seeing them everywhere. These big giant Asian tour groups coming through. And then Game of Thrones, which I never saw. I've never seen an episode, which I know B cannot stand the show.
I'm not.
You're not either. Okay. Yeah. They filmed that in Croatia.
Okay.
They filmed that down there in Dubrovnik. Wow. So it became.
What club are you with in Zagreb?
So I'm with NK Sponjko. So I'm in the 3rd tier right now.
Okay.
So it's like, I would say it's definitely below. I think USL teams are definitely a higher quality now.
You think higher?
No, they're better. USL's higher. It's hard to gauge it though. Like, our fields I've never played on. This is kind of what our goalkeeper in Manchester was talking about. Like, our fields are mud half of the times. Like, just.
Yes.
Like, I'm still trying to figure out how to hit a goal kick out here because, like, I'm used to like planting my foot so deep in the ground, and now I just slip. Like, there was one game I slipped like probably every other one. I fell down on like every goal kick. Like, it's just, and like if you put them on turf fields, they get a lot more technical. But like, it's hard to gauge really everyone's like skill when it's just like such a hard playing surface.
Right. Are you enjoying the experience?
Yeah. No, I'm really the first 5 months was an absolute mess. The Croatian Federation I came in like 2 months before the season started, and somehow my paperwork wasn't even put through till 5 weeks into the season. So I wasn't even allowed to be on the bench for our first 5 weeks. We went a couple more games in, and then our coach was like, okay, you're going to start. You're going to take the starting spot now. He got fired that week. New coach came in, said, nope, we're going to leave. Let this other keeper have a chance. We go 3 more games. And that new coach said, okay, you're going to start next game. And then he got fired that same week again. Our president got fired, and the new coach came in and said, nope, we're going to give this other keeper. We're going to see. I already know him. I seen him play before. I like him. We're going to see if he can have a chance. Went like another 3 games. And then finally, like, I took it then. And then I played 1 game this season, and then Corona came in this half season.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's amazing.
I had everything set up after like, I don't know, a year and a half. I don't know. I was under contracts for like 3 months out of the last 2 years before coming out here.
Wow. It's I think soccer players like yourself now are more sophisticated. I mean, I felt like when I played, players like I'm good. I'm the best to play. I'm going to play all the time, and that's not reality, right? And so when players from that environment or that kind of mindset find themselves in a situation where, okay, well, you know what, maybe it's not necessarily me as a player, although I need to adjust to the environment. I also have to accept that there's certain realities in this current environment, be it coaches' preference, playing style. Like I don't know that I, as a youngster, I appreciated different playing styles. You know what I'm saying? But now players now, the coaching's better in some environments in the States. Players are more sophisticated. They understand, well, this is how I actually play the game instead of just doing my special function. Does that make sense? It's interesting. Yeah.
No, it does. The game is so different now. It's hilarious. And I was also just talking to a couple people about what the MLS was like back in the day and how funny it is. We were talking about the funny things America does when America gets bored, we get really creative. And one of the things we tried to do at the beginning of the MLS, not only did we have shootouts, which I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, I do.
I still think those are better than PKs.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I think you could make a case for it, Tyler. There's a case for more skill being used by both and making it fair for the goalie. So rather than just a kick, where it's possible for
more entertaining too. Even if you're not just going for like a skid, like it's 100% more entertaining than just having someone.
It definitely there's a tense feel about a PK shootout though that is really. I mean, you don't lose that in a shootout really, but the point is that when we get bored, we just say, hey, you know what, screw it, let's just make let's just do some shootouts. And FIFA's like, hey guys, could you guys maybe follow the rules that we set? No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all.
Maybe we should make the post a little bigger.
That's what I said. That was the next thing they did. They put up a actual proposal and plan. We wanted to make the goals bigger, because Americans like goals and scoring and things like that. And FIFA was like, listen, you guys got to calm down. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, things could change. That's already going to change in 2026, right? We've got, I think, is it 48 teams, right? There'll be 48 teams in the World Cup in 2026, I think. In 2022, I think that'll be normal. Yeah.
I think the U.S. definitely is shifting over to doing things better now. Because even when I was growing up, like I wasn't taught how to side volley a ball. Like those are your goalies. And then now I see the youth, like when I coach there, like that's like the first, like everyone's like, you guys learn how to side volley, because Will saw what was happening out in Finland. I had a Brazilian and a Spanish keeper who could just like hit these balls like literally, it wouldn't go like more than 8 feet in the air, and it would just be a laser to wherever they wanted it to go.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Shanking, like I spent 9 months just shanking balls.
Tell the story. Tell the story. Well, that'll be the last thing we do here, because we're almost running out of time here. Go ahead.
So like the way I would like try to practice it is just in training. Is every time like someone, and I still do this all the time when I'm in training and I want to get a ball to someone else, I just hit a side volley. You just get as many reps as you can. So I was trying to hit some. I think it was actually to Robert. I was trying to hit some to Robert, and I saw our coach walking in front of me, and I was like, I'm getting a little better at this. I can definitely get this over. Like usually you swing through like 50% on these to really get it. This one, I put the power on it, and it wasn't. It was really just a knuckle shot right into the coach's just side of the face.
It was. I happened to be. It was in between a whole bunch of stuff. When you change training stuff, and so I happened to be walking towards the direction of the coach. I didn't see Tyler kick it, but I saw the flight of the ball, and I saw it hit his face. It was unbelievable. It hit him.
Transfer.
I was still like pretty reserved back then, where I was just like frozen. I was like, holy shit, like this coach did not like me at all. No. And he made it very clear. And I was just sitting there like, oh my God. Like, I was like, sorry.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights. Really quick. But listen, I think we're here. We're at an hour. I really appreciate you. I mean, we all do, and everybody, I'm sure, is gonna gonna like this episode
Absolutely.
a ton, you know. And if we're ever in and near, which we tend to try and hang out in the DC area from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're there, we'll definitely have to meet up, maybe do this in person.
Yeah,
for sure.
Our other guy who's in Manchester is from, where is he from again? Bowie? That's somewhere near you guys.
Yeah, Bowie,
Sounds
Maryland.
crazy. Bowie, Maryland. So, okay.
We drive by your workplace going to film at RFK anyways.
Wait, what did we say that again?
We're right by the Pentagon. When
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there we
just-
go. We'll
I
stop
know-
by. You guys are okay with cameras, right?
We'll let you in. We're good to go.
Humvees out of the way, and we can just stroll on in.
Gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for reaching out. I really enjoyed this, and thank you for what you guys do. And
Yeah,
best
Thank
wishes
you
on
for
all
what you
your
do.
events.
Yeah, man. No, thank you. You got the harder job. Thanks a lot. All right.